am so excited to have everyone back with us today, and I'm really excited to talk to a very special guest about orbs. Penny Rummel has written a book about orbs, and she continues to study them during her travels at her home. Penny, I'm so excited to have you here today and to learn from you all the things you've learned about orbs. It seems like we're seeing them, or the populace is seeing them all over the world in increasing amounts. So I thought this was a really good time to sit down with you and hear what you have to say about orbs.
Absolutely. Krystal, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate being here with you and sharing with the audience about the orbs and the photos that I've taken of them just in a short period of time. Since 2022 is really when I started taking pictures. And then
Wow.
I try to take them every single evening, whether I'm out camping or home or, like you said, on my travels.
And what made you start to take these pictures? Did you notice things, or what was happening?
So the very first picture in my book kind of describes why I even started taking orbs, because it really wasn't even in my wheelhouse. It wasn't even something I even thought about. But I read this book. Dr. Matthew Johnson wrote a book about Bigfoot. And that's been my passion, honestly. So I was reading the book, and in the book, he describes how the Sasquatch people can shift their energy into the orb form. And I was just fascinated by that. Like, wow, that is really cool. And he had a camp set up, and I decided that I was going to attend. But one of the stipulations about this particular camp is that you had to camp with just a cot, sleeping bag, and a pillow to make yourself vulnerable so you could have interactions with the Sasquatch people. I knew that I probably needed to practice that because I really wasn't an avid camper. So I set up, you'll see the picture in the book. I set up my cot, I set up my sleeping bag and pillow, and decided, I'm going to take a picture and send it to the host so he knows I'm, really trying here. Because it's very vulnerable to sleep out like that.
Yeah.
So I took the first picture, but I noticed in that shot, it didn't have the woods in the background. It didn't look woodsy enough. So I took a second picture because something told me to take it. Took the picture and the woods were in the background. And I thought, that's the one. I'm going to send that to him and let him know I'm practicing. So I sent it to him, not even thinking twice about it. But in the morning, I reviewed my photos, and there was an orb of a Sasquatch face in it. And
What?
Krystal, that was the day I was like, that's it. I'm taking pictures of orbs from now on.
Oh, I got chills when you said that.
Yes. So the audience will see it because I sent that picture to you. But I got chills too, Krystal. I still have them. It was intentional. I have a live mode on my iPad, and that's how I take all my photographs. And so it was intentional that he even came he came right into the right, not center, but to the right side of the screen. But he was right there to make sure that I captured him. And you can see it in live mode how he zips right in. So it was really cool. And that's why he's the very first one in the book, because that's how it all started.
Wow. It's so fascinating. I mean, I've definitely seen videos where there's an orb that comes down into like a field, and then it's sort of shadowy looking, so it's hard to tell really, but it like manifests itself into like a figure that looks like a human figure and then walks off. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, wow, these are alive.
Right.
These are real. I want to tell you this story of something that happened to me with an orb in 2010. It actually changed my life. I was overlooking Elliott Bay, and it was a sunny day, and I was by myself in this kind of path that most people don't walk down, like maybe to walk their dogs, but it's very kind of remote in West Seattle, and it goes kind of along the cliff, and it just looks out over the water. And I was sitting there just at a particular time in my life where I wasn't quite sure like which direction I was going. I was kind of having things going on. And as I looked out over the water, I started seeing the water was like sparkling, like almost like dancing. And then the sparkles started coming together, and I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But as this is happening, like right in front of my face, it starts forming into an orb, like a white, bright white orb. And then this is what was really unbelievable, is it came at me, and it hovered right in front of my face, and was and I looked at it, and what went through my head was it was my soul talking to me. And it was as if it was me, but like from a different perspective. And it was like looking back at me, and it was just kind of swirling around, and then it went off and split in two and went two different directions. And I was like, whoa, I have the choice of which way I want to go. And I instantly knew what I needed to do. It and it didn't make any sense. It honestly made no sense of how I knew or anything. But I was like, I need to move to Westport, because I had a property out there, and I kind of needed to get away from the city. And it was like just so sure and certain. And that orb literally like changed my life. And I don't know really what it was. Like it almost, in my memory, I'm like, was it real? Did I really see that, or did I like conjure something up in my mind? But I do believe these orbs have some sort of consciousness or intellect. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I don't think we know enough about them, but I think one thing we can all agree upon is that they have an intelligence. They have like the consciousness, and it's like us, everything is energy. So those three things we can all agree upon. But as far as like how they manifest themselves, I don't know. I just find it
Yeah,
totally spectacular and very believable because I've seen it. I've seen it, and I know it exists. And so that was like almost like a spiritual awakening that you had, in that moment. It's fascinating to me. Your story about an orb, my story about an orb, totally different, but it's what we needed at the time, right?
yep. Yep,
So
it's like it had information for me, but I can't even put that information into words, because it really made no sense, like no logical sense. But I literally got up from that I was sitting on a log. I got up from the log, and I had been on a walk, but I ran home. Like I haven't been a runner for years, and I literally had so much energy and so much drive. I ran home, and I was like, I told my kids, I was like, we're going to move to Westport for a while. And they're just like, okay, crazy lady, like,
yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. I think it's really amazing. And there's so many different stories out there of
mhm.
people that see them. In my case, I don't believe I have seen one yet with my own eyes. But that's
Oh,
okay. I think that will change in time. But
yeah,
right now, I'm to capture them with a photograph with my iPad. So
yeah,
I'm really okay with that because when I sit back and I review my photos afterwards, it's like Christmas. you know,
hmm,
like, what am I gonna see? I know sometimes I'm gonna see something because I have already seen it when I took the picture, but just to see it in front of my eyes and hold it there, in that
yeah.
stillness is just beautiful. But
Are there certain places where you can kind of feel the energy, and then you're like, I need to take photos?
I I feel like that's true, but I haven't been able to nail that down. Like, I'm really trying to connect with my senses and have a better understanding is, do I feel? Sometimes I hear
Mm,
something and then I move my camera to that direction. So in that regards, I think I'm paying attention. I do have awareness. But as far as that feeling part goes, and I'm really trying to hone that in and really
Well,
be.
there's all sorts of skills we have. Like clairaudience is a skill, like
Right.
a sixth sense. So, um, some people hear messages, some people feel messages, some people,
Right.
like, so maybe that's just your gift is the hearing.
Yeah, but I wonder if sometimes, Crystal, I wonder, is this something like my dogs would hear too, or is this something my husband would hear as well if he was out here with me? So I'm not sure, but I do agree that we all have different gifts, and it's important for us to hone them. And some of us already have them intact. That's awesome. But we all have that. We all have those
Yeah.
abilities. It's just a matter of really practicing with them and honing our skills.
I feel like this year, 2024, there's been more people talking about orbs than I've ever heard.
Absolutely.
Um, my own husband, who doesn't, he doesn't not believe in the things I believe in, but he's always skeptical, like thinks there could be other reasons or things. And when I was traveling this summer, he called me one night and he said, I saw something. And I was like, what? And he goes, I was sitting in the backyard and this bright orange orb came down from the sky. And he was like, it wasn't far away like a star. He was like, it was in within our yard. And I was like, whoa. And for 3 nights, he saw the same thing. And he kept texting me, I saw it again. I saw it again. And then about a month later, I was home and sitting out in the backyard with some friends, and we decided to do a CE5.
Mhm.
And I was guiding it, and I had told everyone to take a deep breath. And when everyone took a deep breath, they automatically closed their eyes, which I think is a natural thing for people to do. But for some reason, I kept my eyes open. I think because I was doing the meditation, so I wasn't going to close my eyes. And right when I said, take a deep breath, this bright orange orb was like right over us. And I was like, did you guys see that? And I look around and everyone has their eyes closed. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was really funny. Like, and then it didn't show itself again, but it was quite a thing, I was like, oh, I think that's what Oz has been seeing this summer was that orb.
Wow. So it sounded like it was very similar then. He thought.
Yeah, it was as he described it to me. Like bright orange in almost like safety orange, like
Yeah.
real bright,
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that color before.
Well, you just reminded me of something when I was like about 9 or 10 years old. So maybe I have seen an orb because when we were traveling to go see Santa Claus in the old station wagon, I remember this orange just looked like a planet coming closer and closer to us
Yeah.
and we're traveling on the highway and we're all seeing it. At least I'm thinking we're all seeing it because my brother and I were in the back seat. We saw it and we're just got our eyes locked on it. And I'm like, what is that? And, the funny thing about that is we never talked about it afterward.
Yep.
And we never talked about it until probably about 2 years ago. I brought it up. And do you know, Crystal, that only one member of the family remembers something about that? I'm like, wait a minute,
Really?
you were all in the same car.
So
Except
did your brother remember it all?
no, my
No.
younger brother doesn't remember it. My older brother doesn't remember it. My dad vaguely remembered it because I asked him before he passed. He passed just a couple years ago. And my mom, I never got to ask her before she passed. Uh,
Yeah.
but that was breathtaking. If it's the same kind of orange, which when you honed in on that safety orange, I was like, yeah, and it's flaming. It's like plasma, right? It's really, really bright orange.
Yeah.
So
You know, I find it so fascinating when I have these conversations with people, the memories that get triggered. I believe that's why telling stories is so important because, our mind is a kind of a funny place. Like we, choose the memories we want to remember
yeah,
until we're triggered by something that like brings it out, you know? And I thought that I had never seen like a spacecraft before 1996, which I was maybe like 18 or so at that time. And but now, as I've talked to people and people have told me stories of things like that happened in their bedroom as a child, I was like, wait, I thought those were dreams, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to wonder, like, maybe those weren't dreams. Maybe those were actually like encounters I had that I was just calling it a dream, you know?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the rest of the populace and all the people that have also thought, oh, I thought that was a dream too. Well, and
Yep.
it very well could be, but some of it may not be a dream. You may be lucid dreaming, you may be OBE, you may be out of your body and really experiencing something profound, right? Such as
Yeah.
being on a craft or being in the presence of other beings. It's I just love this whole topic, and it's like that my heart just pitter patters, and my soul is totally like into this. It's like
Yeah.
this is the direction.
I definitely believe this is something that that is necessary for like opening up our consciousness, and the fact that you document the orbs, I think is really important because it's showing and especially like having your book, it's showing people and giving them a gateway to like explore.
Thank you. I want to say also, Krystal, that I really appreciate you and your ability to sit down and or stand up and have these conversations with people because it is important. This is the time to start waking up and really tapping into consciousness, our awareness, meditation, all of that. So you're helping little spoonfuls
Yeah.
by allowing people to do that, opening themselves up more and more. So thank you for having this show and all the other things that you do to bring people together to have these important conversations. It's so good.
Oh, thank you. It's, it is a passion of mine. Like it truly, I love doing it. I love having those events where people come and tell stories that I know aren't easy.
Right.
So I really try to like create a safe space. So even if someone's telling me some outrageous, crazy story, it's like, you know what? There's things to learn from this. This is real. It really happened to them, and they're needing to get that off of their chest. Maybe it's a healing process.
Yeah, and it's also another seed of opening up, opening yourself up to even more. Okay, I'm able to speak about it, and then maybe more will come my way. I can handle this much more, whatever it is. But we all are, I believe we're all on that journey. It's whether or not you're open to it. I think the universe is definitely speaking to us, and we are trying to communicate back by these simple things like having these interactions with orbs, right? It's a very soft and gentle way to bring us into this phenomenon. That's what I liked about the book, to be honest, is that it's just a gentle way to open people up, open their hearts and open their minds to the possibility of what else is going on in this and beyond this 3D world.
I call it infinite possibilities because, you know, our minds make up all these situations and things, and I can think of even the things I think the orbs I've encountered are, but in reality, I don't know. Like I know how I felt when I encountered certain things, but like I don't really know what it was. I don't have we don't even really have words yet to describe like what these things are. And I know you said that there are different types of orbs. Can you explain to me
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I will explain to you the different types of orbs, but I'll also tell you that they're all connected. Everything is
Okay.
connected. And I've had to kind of relearn that because I was speaking with a mentor of mine, and she's like, "But Penny, they're all connected." And you're right. You're right. So the orbs that many people are seeing, I am not seeing these types. You can actually see, and you and I described them just a little bit ago. You can see them with your own eye. Is the orange, the green? They're almost like a plasma orb, or if you
Yep.
will, entertain a craft or a being inside of them. Okay, and that's
Mhm.
not to say that the orb photos that I've taken don't have beings inside of them. It's not that, but it's just that that type of energy is coming in and can shrink down in size, can expand in size. I don't understand that. I don't understand the time space whole thing. I would love to, but I
And
know
they can split.
they can split. Yes,
Yeah.
and they can split, and that reminds me of my MUFON background because I've had so many cases where people have seen them split, and so it's just it's very fascinating to me. It's just those aren't the type of orbs in which I'm photographing. Um, Now, those orbs also come in to people's homes. Those same types can
Yep.
come to people's homes, and then they can expand. And as you talked about just a little bit ago, can shift into a being of
Mhm.
someone or of some being that we may or may not seen before. It may be benevolent or malevolent. We don't really know, but we definitely can tune into our own feelings and really get a sense of that. You go with
Yep.
your gut, you go with your instinct, and you can tell, you'll know.
Yeah.
So those kind of like I call them like plasma orbs because it's all that I can come up with are
Yeah.
a little bit different from the orbs that I've taken photos of. Now I think I have a couple of them, and I don't think they're in my book. I have over 22,000 photographs because every night I take so many pictures. That it's not to say that I capture orbs every single night, but um, there's so many pictures that I need eventually to go into my iPad and clear it out before it, breaks in half or something. But going back to the orbs in which I photograph, they are of, I'm going to call them nature spirits, animal spirits,
Hmm.
um, many different types of spirits. It could be beings. And as you know, the first photograph that I had, Sasquatch beings can be part of that and shift in their energy. I think anything can shift into the orb and present itself the way it wants to present itself to each individual person. And I know you know this too, that one person can see it this way, it's this color, and another person may see it as a different color and actually maybe even see a face. So sometimes we're seeing different things based on our own perceptions.
Yeah, and that's so true because we all have a different lens. Like I take pictures of bird poops that I think look like shapes. I call it like an organic Rorschach test because I can show it to someone and they see, like a firecracker and I see a maple leaf or something,
Right.
like some it's kind of a fun thing just to see what everybody
Yeah.
sees, And it's kind of the same thing with the orb. One person's perception is different, or even maybe the angle at which they're seeing it is slightly different, so they're experiencing it in a different way.
I'll share one little story with you that will kind of seal a little bit about the Sasquatch people too in this phenomenon of one sees, the other one doesn't see. And these two guys were out on a hike, and they were walking, and up above they noticed something up above. Well, the one guy sees the Sasquatch, and the other guy, they haven't talked about it yet. The one guy sees a Sasquatch, the other guy sees a dog, sees a poodle. So they talk to each other. Go, did you just see that? And the guy said, yeah, I saw that. What did you see? I saw a Sasquatch. Oh, I saw a white poodle. Right? It's like it's almost like the communication can come back to this is what you can handle. This is what you can handle,
Yep.
and that's what you get. It wasn't meant for you to see the Sasquatch, but it was meant for you to see the Sasquatch.
That's so interesting because I've heard that there are like images, like the image of an owl. A lot of times, if people see an extraterrestrial, they see in their mind an owl. I don't know if it's the big eyes or whatever. And when I was talking to Whitley Strieber, he said that when his first reaction when he saw a gray in his bedroom, he thought it was an owl. And he thought, how did this bird get in my house? And so I think it's just the mind, that's kind of what ontological shock is that you don't have words to describe what you saw. So you have to revert to something to be
Right.
able to communicate.
Right, right. To let your brain process whatever that is, because some
Mm-hmm.
psyches can handle this much, others can't. But there's
Mm-hmm.
another phenomenon that plays into this too, Krystal, and I think Whitley did a great job talking about this, and that's screen memory.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the beings, whether it's a Sasquatch or it's a gray or whatever being it is, because they know you can't handle it, will put a screen memory in there so that all you remember is that owl or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe to not shock you too much.
Right. Yeah, I think it's
You
out of
know,
you know. Yeah.
I have to say, like, I think a lot of memories I have from when I was younger were repressed by my own self to not like be too shocked, because it's traumatic. And when I was raised always people saying aliens don't exist, so like ghosts aren't real, like all these things. I don't know, just the people around me, that's the things they would say. And so I really had that ingrained in my young memory that this stuff couldn't be real, but in reality I was experiencing these things. So it's like I didn't think that could be real, so I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm gonna
Right.
push
Right.
it back. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not real. Just save that for another day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially with the investigations and cases I've worked with MUFON, a lot of people that are experiencers did exactly that. Oh, you were just dreaming. You were just having a daydream or whatever. And then they as children tend to push that back. But you know what? The truth is, children are so much closer to that, to the,
Yeah.
what I call the veil. They're so much closer that they're actually seeing what they're seeing. It's just the adults can't. So the adults are the one that are squashing that beautiful thing that shouldn't be squashed, so that the adults can learn too. But like you said, it's part of our society to, oh, we don't see it, then it's not real. you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's
Yeah.
just a dream. Yeah.
Sometimes I almost feel like science is constricting, because like the scientific method is supposed to be continue testing and continue, but it seems like at some point science sort of reaches a spot where people are like, all right, this is real, this isn't. We've tested a lot, we think that. But it's like I kind of think we need to keep going.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are, quantum physics, and that is proving a lot of these things that weren't real as actually part of a universal law of physics that we didn't really realize.
I do think that that's changing. I
Yeah.
think that in 2024 we've seen some movement toward the quantum and having a better understanding of it. Quantum healing, past life regressions with quantum healing. And I think 2025 is really going to bring us into a healing age. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Yeah.
I'm really excited, actually. I have this feeling in me that we're very close, and I don't know what we're close to, but I feel like it's like a tipping point of consciousness where things will open up. And I love that you mentioned the quantum healing, because I really truly believe that each individual person has so much more power than they realize to heal themselves.
Exactly right. We're superhumans, just
Yeah.
like Joe Dispenza said. We are superhumans, and we can heal ourselves. I we're More people are going to tap into that and see that's very true. Yes,
Yeah.
I actually had that happen to me where I did heal myself. Um,
Yep.
I was on a trip and to my dad's, and I was going down his stairs into the basement. I missed the last couple steps and twisted my ankle, and I was to drive the next day. Well, it was all swollen up. And I was like, wow, how am I going to drive? And I had two dogs that I had to walk too. So that night, I went right into like this deep meditation. I went in, I asked my guides to help. I asked as much as I could from as many as I could. And then I started taking my own energy and then just shifting it down the leg and putting just all this energy into it. And in the morning, do you know, I got right up and I walked right on that leg. No
Yep.
problems. It was like, you're right, Joe, this works. It was fantastic.
It really does. I have experienced at one point I had it's funny that you say this because I actually fell down some stairs, and I was sleepwalking, which I've never sleptwalked before, and I think I was like, I'm a very open channel, so sometimes when you're really open, you have to be careful. But I think I actually got kind of overtaken by some other entity because of the situation that happened. My my ex-husband followed me down the first flight of stairs because he had never seen me sleepwalk before, and he was like, "Krystal, what are you doing?" And I wasn't turning around. I just had my back to him, and I got to the kitchen, and he said, "Krystal, what are you doing?" And I turned around, and he said something that wasn't my voice and wasn't any language he could understand. He said, "The only thing I could think is that you were speaking in tongues." And he said this came out of my mouth, like, didn't know what I said, just this like really scary thing, very dark, he said. And I was at the top of our basement stairs, and he said, like a almost like a rag doll, I flung down the stairs and tumbled. And at the bottom of the stairs, he thought I was dead. Like, he was just like, "What just happened?"
Wow.
He checked. I was breathing. He picked me up and put me on the couch at the bottom of the stairs, and I woke up 12 hours later. Had no idea. I felt like I got hit by a truck. Didn't know what happened to me. And that was like around the time when I had decided I needed to move to Westport, because something had taken control of me that I still don't. I have ideas, but I don't know what it was. And when I was I had broken ribs, and I could, as we were moving, I couldn't even like pick up the things to move. My kids knew, like, "Oh, mommy's hurt,"
Right.
and this this stairwell story happened 2 days after I had decided to move to Westport. So that day that I saw the orbs, and then a few nights later, is because I think something had kind of overcome me for a while. Like, I'd been fighting it, and I didn't know what to do. Didn't have the tools to deal with
Right.
it.
Right.
And so we were. I remember like, everyone else had to move everything for me. I couldn't even like pick up my kid a box, nothing. I was really really in pain, and I could feel like jabbing pains in my sides and stuff. And I went out to the beach to walk, and I was like an old woman walking out to the beach, like baby steps. Like, it
Mhm.
hurt so bad I couldn't get my breath elevated because it would hurt. And as I was on the beach, I just stood there, and I all of a sudden felt compassion for what had taken over me. Like, I felt sad that it needed to use my body to do whatever it was doing. And instantly, I remember I looked up at the sun, and I felt this like wave of like energy go through me,
Mhm.
and I breathed like, and it didn't hurt. And I was like, "What?" And then I started moving, like, like, just testing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
nothing's hurting. And I like bent down, and there was like, I don't know, something on the beach, and I picked it up, and it didn't hurt. And I was like, and I walked back to the house like really like full of energy. And my kids were at school that day, and I was unpacking all the boxes, I was doing all this stuff. I felt fine. The injury never came back. And I remember my daughter came home from school, and she said, I went to go pick up a box and she goes, Mommy, no, that's going to hurt. And I go, no, I got healed today. And she's like, it's a miracle. And then like everything was normal and I was fine. But it literally was instantaneous healing. And I think it's possible. Like, I don't know. It had something to do with that emotion of compassion that I had, though. It's the only thing I can relate it to, because it was the only thing that shifted in my own being was that emotion.
Yeah,
So
I think you bring up a really good point with compassion and love in terms of healing. Well, those love is the highest frequency, right? So that would really make sense that love is the answer in terms of healing ourselves.
yep.
So, yeah, that very much makes sense. But also makes sense in terms of your interactions with different beings, in that you have this love and compassion, whether it's good or bad, right? We have yin and yang, so we have to
Yep.
balance those. We can't, we tend to do this in our society, say, this is bad, this is good. Okay, we don't want to deal with the bad. But no, that's what causes the balance in life. And it took me a long time to understand that and realize, oh, that's necessary. It's necessary that we're here on earth to learn the lessons we need to learn. And in order for that to happen, we need that balance of this fear or this darkness, and then this love and this light and this compassion. And so I think compassion and love is the key in terms of our interaction. So I'm letting the audience know too that if this is the type of interaction you want, this is what you have to put out. So when you put that out, when you're having a walk in the woods, or you're taking photographs, or whatever it is that you want to interact with that's beyond the 3D, put love in your heart. Just remember something that's very loving to you, and have that up here. So there's this coherent brain and heart connection, and that
Yep.
you carry with you as you explore our beautiful world, and what we cannot see and what we can see. So I think you're right. The healing modality is all about the love and compassion. That frequency is huge.
It is. It really it can shift you, like, cuz I think before that day and that moment I was fighting that being. I was like letting it sort of do whatever it wanted to, and but I could tell I didn't like that,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm fighting it. But then the moment that I felt like this really deep, it was a profound feeling too. I remember thinking like, it's so sad that it needs to use someone else, another, I really felt like sorry for it, and just this really deep compassion. And I think that a lot of times, we don't even have compassion for ourselves. I I think that it's something that I've been able to really learn how to do, but I see other people struggling with, like negative self-talk, or things that they might be saying to themselves, and they don't realize that that is actually causing a lot of the problems in their own lives, is that they're causing it, in a
Right.
way.
Right. Yeah, I say this very simple saying, but it's not easy to do. But it's live in the flow, right? Just live with the flow. Oh, that rubs you a certain way. Just flow on by it. Just
Yeah.
let it go. Oh, that person just stopped real quick on their brakes, and you had to slam on yours. Slam on your brakes and go with the flow. We don't know why they stopped. We don't have to get angry.
Yeah.
Just go with the flow. And it's not easy, but if you
No.
do that with everything, and it's probably what all the yogis did, right? They flowed. They flowed through
Yeah.
that. And that is where all the synchronicities come in, right?
Yep.
When you're in that flow, and you're part of my flow too, being able to meet you. We don't have to go into how we met, but that was a synchronicity. It
Yep.
was beautiful when you're living in the flow. All those synchronicities come about, and it's amazing.
It's really true, because things happen that, like, I don't even think were possible, or I'll think, wouldn't that be cool if that could happen? And then all of a sudden something even better is happening,
Yeah.
like it's really, I don't know. Like, yeah, the synchronicities are like the magic part of being on Earth right now that I think are really cool.
Yeah, there's a topic that I am totally fascinated with, and I've been fascinated since my early 20s. And it's about near death experience, NDEs. I can't get enough of them. I read the stories, I watch the podcasts, I'm all a part of that, the NDEs. But the one thing that I take from these near death experiences, especially when the person's about ready to, to transition over, or so some people say cross over, they oftentimes hear a voice that just says, let go, especially with drowning. People that are drowning are struggling and they're fear and they're panicking, right? And they hear this voice, let go. Well, that let go is living in the flow. As soon as you can do it, as soon as you can let go, that's when life becomes this nice flow that I think we were all supposed to have and stay connected
Yeah.
with each other and with nature. It
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to get to this, but here we are, and it's pretty
Right.
cool too. Here we got this wonderful technology and everything else, but there's so much more. There's so much more if we can just let go and live in the flow.
And that reminds me of when I think of like a spiritual awakening or something like that, you don't have to learn anything. You just have to remember what you already know. And that's like kind of the same thing of what you're saying is when you let it flow, you're less using your mind,
Right.
you're using your intuition and just letting things be, because ultimately we're beings, so we're just supposed to be.
Right. And you're using that heart and that compassion. Like,
Hmm.
I have this compassion for that person because I don't know what they're going through, but I can have compassion for them because something's obviously going on. And
Yeah.
compassion and love,
I
huge.
have a question about Sasquatch that I've heard before, is that when you come into contact with them, if you're like you're saying, like just open and just letting it flow, being with nature, then they're very benevolent. But if you're doing something destructive, or then they can actually be quite violent. Like, do you have any experience with that interaction?
Well, not with the violence, I haven't. But here's how I will explain that. If I'm coming into your house and I decide that I'm just going to rearrange your furniture and turn the music up really loud and yell and scream, or you know, that's what we humans do when we go into the woods,
Yeah.
right? We bring our guns, we bring our loud music, we get rowdy, we bring our alcohol, and that's, I would be upset too. You would be upset.
Yeah.
Me, if I did that to you, vice versa. They get upset
Yeah.
about that. They're connected to nature. Nature isn't
Yeah.
loud like that, like we are. You know, it's peaceful. It's
Yeah.
loving, and
Yeah.
those people aren't going out there to connect in a loving, kind, compassionate way. But there are groups that do go out there and connect with them, and those are the ones that have positive, loving experiences. But the others, no, they're going to be chased off, right? You would do the same thing if
Yeah.
someone came into your home. See ya, bye. So
I've
respect.
spent a lot of time in the North Cascades. Um, I was I went to high school in Enumclaw, so it's like right in the foothills of the North Cascades, Mount Rainier, and I've spent days out there backpacking with friends, and I've never seen a a Sasquatch per se, but I've definitely felt a presence that I felt as if we were being like watched, but in a caring sort of way. I didn't feel afraid of being watched. It was more like, oh, I'm glad there's something here kind of protecting us. That's sort of how I felt.
Right,
Um, and we were like, didn't even have cell phones with us back then. You know what I mean? Like it was,
right,
and then when I was in Russia in the Siberian wilderness of like the Altai Mountains, I felt the same feeling.
right.
And the people there had kept telling me stories of almas. They were calling them almas,
Hmm.
and they were referring to them as like people. Like I thought they were like another tribe, like there's like the
Yeah.
Altai, and then I was like, okay, then there's the almas. And then when I came home, I was doing some research on Wikipedia and I looked up almas, and it said it's a mythical creature much like a Sasquatch. And I started laughing because I was like, oh my gosh, like these stories were being told to me as if it was very real, and like interaction with these beings. I thought they were people because of the way they're telling me the story. And then I see that it's mythical. And I was like, and then I remember the feeling I had there and in the North Cascades, and I was like, that's the Russian Sasquatch, like that's what I don't know. So I think this happens like all over the world.
Yeah, I think the way you had the feeling that they were people is exactly how they want us to feel about them. They are a tribe, they are a clan,
Mm-hmm.
and they are a people. Yes, they have a lot more hair on them than we do, but many of them look like us in the face. They have the
Mm-hmm.
human aspect, and so it's for me. I tend to call them Sasquatch people, and I may have dropped that in this conversation, but I'm going to pick it right back up. But they are the Sasquatch people. They're
Yeah.
they are a tribe, and the Native Americans, many different tribes had relationships with them, and at one point were connected with them, Big Brother, the Sasquatch people, and they were interacting. They were learning from each other. Right, Big Brother was teaching
Mm-hmm.
us how to do certain things in nature, so we could survive. And then that soon dissipated because we transitioned to a more modern, a more pots and pans and homes that are covered and all that. But that relationship, I believe in my heart, is very real. That we had that
Mm-hmm.
kind of relationship with the Sasquatch people. So yeah, we,
I think we can gain that back, like as people get more reconnected with nature, because I feel like part of the problem of modern life is that like we are just so disconnected from a natural order, and I think there's a way to have a balance between living modern but being also connected, and having like connected in a elevated consciousness sort of way. Like I do think that's possible.
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's possible too, and I actually think it's happening. Many people have relationships with the Sasquatch people now. They just don't talk about it. You think about those old farms and the farmers and the wives that were out there, raising cattle and chickens and stuff. They had relationships with the Sasquatch people. They didn't talk about it because they just saw them as the hairy people, but they
Mm-hmm.
treated them with respect. They sometimes feed them during harsh winters and treated them just like people. So I think those relationships are actually still there. There's pockets of that still happening throughout the United States and probably throughout the world. But yeah, I look forward to continuing my relationships with the Sasquatch people. As you know, and getting right back to the book, as you know, the first photo was of orb with the Sasquatch face in it. But since then, and you'll see in the book, that I have energy bodies of the Sasquatch people. One male in particular has visited a couple times where I've been able to photograph and see him. And to me, I think to myself, wow, what a blessing that
Yeah.
is to be able to see him. You know, he didn't have to do that, but he did.
Yeah.
He did that for me, and he came when I needed them the most on Mother's Day weekend, which is one of the first ones that I captured, where my dogs had taken and separated baby ducks from the mama. The mama was already in the pond calling.
Oh.
Oh, we have a pond in our backyard, and my dog separated them and then um, uh, killed them, and it just tore me up because mom's crying for them. She's calling for them, but
Oh.
she doesn't know what's happened, and so
Oh.
it was really a tough weekend for me because not only did she stick around that night all the way up until the sunset, but she came back the next morning and was calling
Oh,
in the pond. So it just tore me up. And
yeah.
that particular day he visited, and then I got this simple message of it's a circle of life. It's okay, that this kind of stuff does happen in life. It's
Yeah.
part of life, right? And
Yeah.
and nothing dies, right? We continue on.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
It is.
That's the message I got from him. And then seeing him shift, which is really cool. The audience won't see this, and hopefully you do one day. But on my iPad, I can hit the picture, and you can see 1.5 seconds of the orb shifting into his body and his
Ah,
profile as he's sitting down back to the maple tree. So it's really
wow.
amazing.
Super cool. The cameras can capture more than our eyes see. Like last night, sometimes we can see the northern lights from where I'm at. There was this glowing purple thing in the sky, kind of where I had seen the northern lights before, but when I saw them, they were green. And then I took a picture of it, and it was like twice as bright as what I was seeing with my
Wow.
eyes, So it was like I was like, oh, the cameras it's like another filter or something
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
they see different things.
Yeah, when we saw the Northern Lights this year, remember that? And
Yeah.
oh, they're pretty, but the pictures were like fabulous. Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't what I was seeing. It was like the brightest of reds and pinks and greens. I was like, wow,
Yep.
this is just a breath of fresh air to be able to have these conversations just like this.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much for spending the morning talking and chatting. Um, there was one other thing that you had mentioned about when you photograph the orbs, sometimes like other things show up, and you kind of wanted to show people how to like dissect or wait, what's the
Discern,
word I'm looking for?
discern, discern it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Like
yeah.
let's see, I had some pictures that you sent me. So you're saying this is an orb, but this was a spider web with dew on it, and this is a bug. How can you tell that that's an orb and not a.
Okay. And that's a very valid question. And the reason I can tell that is because of the movement and the way it moves. And because I have the 1.5 seconds on my live mode on my iPad, and a lot of iPhones have that too, that I'm able to see it. Now, I'll tell you that at first I thought that spider web was an orb, but as I examined a little closer in that area, I could faintly see this like fishing line looking thing coming down, and I was like,
Oh,
oh, that's a spider web. Who would have ever thought that a spider web could actually look like an orb? But there it is, right?
yeah.
Right on
So
this.
what do you think this is up in the, like, this one?
That is an orb as well, right?
Okay.
Orb as well. You can see the bug, you can see the legs and all that. Yep.
Yep.
This is my trip to Egypt. Just that's the Great Pyramid right there.
Do you think that's an orb?
Oh yes, that
The,
was moving
yeah.
so fast. The energy, this one energy that came in, that's on the my left hand side, and I'm
Yep.
assuming the audience sees it as left too. That see the line that divides it? It goes right down
Yeah.
the almost the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
That's
It's,
an amazing photo.
it's yeah. It almost looks like the veil, right? It's like split. There it is. Someone described.
Well, and I know when I was in the Great Chamber, I felt like it was an energy place, and I had this vision of I was with 18 sound healers, and we were all like honing and humming, and I felt the sound go up and directly through the top of the pyramid, and
Yep.
I thought, wow, we're directly communicating with the stars right now.
Yep.
Like we're sending that like like
Right
magnified out.
right above the Orion Belt, right in that
Yep.
constellation. Yeah, you were communicating with them. Yep.
Right to the
You,
Pleiades.
It's so exciting to be in Egypt. It's just like you get share. But yeah, to be inside of the Great Pyramid was one of the tops. I often believe that it was sound and energy that goes up through that created that that channel or that energy that the Egyptians used.
I truly believe that each temple was built by a different star civilization. So like the Great Pyramid, I think obviously the Pleiadians, it points straight to the Pleiades. I can only imagine if you come to another planet and you're going to build something, you would want it to last a very long time. And then you'd also want it to be able to communicate from where you're from. And uh, it would be perfectly aligned to wherever you're you're from. I mean, it
Right.
only makes logical sense to do that. And the other temples are aligned with different star clusters, and it just, to me, that seems like the most settling or aligned idea of who built the temples. I think it was a lot of different people and beings that built the temples.
Right. I agree that there was help and that the Egyptian people worked alongside with. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's just
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh my gosh, this picture.
Yeah, you should have seen it cut through the sky. It's a greenish yellow white color. I was getting up well rested at midnight and sometimes 3 in the morning to go and take photographs.
Did you find when you were there that you were constantly on the go, but you required little sleep, and you just, I don't think I've ever had this much energy in a
Yeah.
long time. And even coming back, it lasted for a while, but then I got back to normal.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of energy there, a lot, and you can tap into
Yeah.
it. And I think that's what carries us because we did very little sleep, didn't need it because the energy there carried us. Yeah, so sometimes the orbs, this was a really interesting shot because it really looks like it's coming out of a portal or some kind of hole.
Yeah.
You see it like a donut shape there.
Ooh, I can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Right above your tent.
Right. That is my tent. Yep, right above my tent. Yep.
That's cool.
And that's, see, another really great example of the communication. Like, here we are, and we know
Yep.
you're taking our picture
Yeah.
above your tent. Orbs have a tendency to really come out around water, rivers, ponds, even, oceans. Yeah, lots of energy. Yep, this was out. This was out camping, and this was in your neck of the woods in Enumclaw, Greenwater. It's huge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was a surprise. I saw the flash in my eyes. I had no idea that it was gonna look like the rainbow like this. The
Yeah.
flash in my eyes, just like, whoa, what was that? I can't wait to get back to see what that was because it was so bright, Krystal. It was like, whoa. And then when I saw it, I was just like, are you kidding me? You can do this? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And there is
Ooh.
one. Yes. So this is a little bit of a story to go with it too. And you can see his Fu Manchu. You can see his eyes in that
Yep.
photo too. But I just finished watching Flash of Beauty, Paranormal, and
Okay.
I had this thought drop of go take pictures. I was like, really? Okay. I get up and I take pictures, and there he is. Yep.
I can see him. Like, even, I have different monitors here right now. So I can see it on this monitor. I can see it on that. And then when I look on my monitor that's like recording us, I can also see it. I'm
Yeah.
like,
And he's his energy body, but doesn't he have a very much a human, the facial, a facial
Yeah.
appearance is so cool.
Yeah.
And he's probably
and
about,
kind of like a hunched over, like he's
yes,
like,
yeah, his posture is not completely.
yeah.
Yep,
Look at that one.
yep. That's my dad. That
Oh,
that
I can
is,
see the face.
yeah. We look a lot alike, but my dad's in that one. Yep.
That's so neat.
Yeah, there's a face in that one. I do not know what it is, but there's definitely a face in that one as well. Almost reminds me of a little gremlin.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny.
And this is my May 13th, 2023 photo of the Sasquatch sitting down by the with his back to the maple tree. There's an orb.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
You can see his facial because it's a profile. Yep, you can
Like
see his
that.
Fu Manchu. Yep, they're the same ones too. I found out they're the same two. They're the same.
Oh,
Yeah, and then there's a orb that's coming right in front of them. If you see,
right here.
yeah, shooting up to the sky. Yep.
Now this is inside.
Yeah, so there's some inside shots too. This was January 8th, 2023. This is the exact, not the exact time. It could be, but I can't prove that. My dad passed. My
Oh
dad had passed
wow.
away in Florida. And this orb I took a picture of. I know because we were watching football and I just was playing around. I was like, I need to take a photo. You know, sometimes that thought placement comes in there. I took the photo and I was like, wow. I mean, this orb really came up like to get in the to get a yes, please take a picture of me. So I was just impressed. And then an hour later, the phone rang and it was my brother.
Wow.
You know,
That could definitely be, or even as you're passing, you're in between realms. And so it could be like during that time when you're in both sides of the veil.
yeah. This is my mom. This
Oh.
is on Thanksgiving of 2020. Ooh, I think it's 22. And that's my mom. Here's another wonderful, like some people think it's a pirate, some people, but when I saw it, I was like, I see my mom. And I casually gave it to my brother one day, handed him the iPad. I said, do you see anything in there that you know, anything? And he's looking at it. He looked for like 5 minutes and he hands it back to me and says, that's mom. Then I knew him. That
Whoa.
I knew. We both knew it was her.
So it's interesting. I see this is gonna sound, I see a wizard.
Yeah, no, that, and my friends saw a pirate, so
Yeah. Like
yeah.
when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, that's a wizard. I wonder, your mom must have been magical.
Yeah, she's magical.
Yeah.
This could be, but I have a photo of her that she has glasses on. You can see the glasses in that shot,
Yep.
and I have a picture of that particular moment in time. It's actually on her obituary. That's the
Oh,
same photo that she came
yep.
in on, and so showing that, I was like, wow, that's
That's so cool.
another rainbow orb.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, they interact too with us. If you ask them, and I always ask for the loving, good energy to come in and interact with me, and they will, they will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that
It's just
maple
so
tree is
cool.
very sacred. It's a very sacred tree, and I
Hmm.
just found that out recently that our property has had many different types of ceremonies on it, and
Oh, wow.
so it's no surprise to me now that all these orbs are here and come here.
Yeah.
In terms of, we don't even realize our true potential in terms of our own energy that we put out there. Like you and I right now connecting, we're actually sharing energy with one another. And I
Yep.
think you could actually finish some of my sentences and vice versa because the energy is flowing so well. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
That's what it
That's
is.
the flow. That's what you're talking about.
That is the flow. Right? We're being our true, authentic selves. We don't have anything to hide, nothing to mask. We're just being.
Yep.
I love it.
And I think that's what causes me to be a bit of an open channel, because like I said, sometimes things come in that I don't necessarily want, but I think it's because I get really open. It opens up yourself to the universe. Sometimes can be a bit of a scary place to be so open, but at the same time, I think that if you're grounded,
Yeah,
you do need boundaries. And I think universally you need boundaries too. So, you
absolutely.
know, like you have protections. Like I've learned now with time of how to do protections for myself where I can still be open and have a protective bubble, I call it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being open and just because that's wonderful flow and great energy, but the boundaries are so important. So good that
Yep.
you're able to put the bubble around you, and good
Yep.
for the audience to know too that that's so important. You know.
It is. I want to say again, thank you so much for spending the time and chatting. I had so much fun talking to you today.
Me too. Me too. What a great. I feel like we just were in Starbucks having a cup of coffee, just yakking.
Totally.
Wonderful. And those are the interviews that I like to watch anyway, where there's great conversation going back and forth. So hopefully
Totally.
everyone feels that
And
way.
I'll be sure to share the link to your book. Do you have two books out now, or
No,
you
I
do?
just the one book right now. I'm still working on my Sasquatch book that
Okay.
I need to get back on and start working. But I mean, I could probably do another book just of orbs with all the extra photographs that I've accumulated. But right now, I'm just gonna lay low with that one and really concentrate on my Sasquatch people book. So and all the different relationships
Cool.
I've had. Yeah, yeah.
I love that. I'm excited for your new book to come out, but I will put links to your orb book, and I believe it's on Amazon, so I'll make sure that people can find it. And yeah, I look forward to all the creations that you make, and in divine timing, like no rush. It's I know how that is when you're working on projects. It's like you put this deadline on yourself, and you're like, I got to get it done. I got to get it done, but you know, it happens when it happens.
It's true. You go with the flow. Just
Yeah.
go. It's been an amazing opportunity to be with you and be with your audience. So I thank you very much for allowing me to be here on your special
Awesome.
station. So thank you, Krystal. It really means a lot to me. I wanted to call you Kelly. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No.
You know what? There's people that I went to high school with that still call me Kelly. And I ran into someone and I corrected them. I was like, oh, it's Krystal. And they're like, really? All these years I thought your name was Kelly. So, I was like,
Well, both
so I
me.
don't correct anyone anymore. Because I'm like, you know what? I have two first names. It's confusing.
It's awesome. And thank you so much. What a wonderful afternoon, morning that this has been. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Penny. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and I'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Thanks. Bye for now.
Bye.